What up gamers, I'm Jason and today on Dice & Dragons I'm going to be reviewing Mysthea The Fall. This is an expansion for the games Mysthea and Icaion. It takes both of those games, combines them together to make a cooperative tower defense game. It is published by Tabula Games once again and designed by Marta Ciaccasassi and Martino Chiacchiera. Hopefully I said that right. Now, what are you going to be doing in Mysthea The Fall? Well, the islands of Mysthea have fallen down to the surface near the city of Icaion. You're going to have the monsters and golems from Mysthea that will be trying to assault the city while the Colossus moves around the board, basically causing you lots of problems. You will need to defend the city, use the machines that are present in Icaion to combat those monsters from Mysthea, as well as investigate the Colossus to save the day, protect the city, and bring the two cultures together. Now, with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the components of the game, and then we're going to go on to the review. We will not be doing a how to play for this game just because for those of you that saw our review of and how to play of Icaion, you notice the board takes up a lot of space. This is a very busy board for Mysthea The Fall. If we do get some requests in the comments to see a how to play, that is something that I will endeavor to do. Now, one last question that I think our viewers may have is, where's Julie? Well, we have some stuff going on, and currently, just to let everyone know, it is just great and amazing positive news. We are working on a channel update. Once that channel update is available to get you up to speed as to what's going on with us, there will be a card popping up right over there. You can go ahead and watch the channel update, which will explain where Julie is. But just suffice it to say briefly, she did not have the time to play the game with me, so she is not on this video. We had a few other plans, but with everything going on right now, it was a little more complicated than we would like. So, that being said, I'm now going to go to our review. Well, not to the review. I'm going to take it over to the components. So keep it right here. Now let's take a look at the components for Mysthea The Fall, this special Kickstarter expansion for both Mysthea and Icaion. Now what you get is what's known as the Conflux kit, which is this kit right here. And there's nothing in it right now. This is just the packaging that comes with it in Icaion. You get the rulebook for Mysthea The Fall. Now, what the rulebook does explain, it gives you a brief overview of the components. There is this index right here, and to be honest with you, I really don't like how much of a focus is placed on the index because it really explains sort of like the player turn with the day phase and the night phase. Could have been explained actually, I think, a lot better. So in any case, as I was saying, components that you need, what you need from Mysthea The Fall, and then from the two games. And then you've got a nice explanation as to how to play the game, what you're going to be doing. You're essentially playing a defensive battle, trying to defend the city from all of the monsters that are on the board, while you must investigate the Colossus. And once that is done, you will have defeated the game. Now we've got some references for what the different monster cards do. The extra monsters, if you got the Kickstarter version of the game, which is known as the Crystal Edition, or you purchase the add-ons. Then you've got the explanations for the champions from Mysthea, what their powers do, as well as the explanations for the seekers from Icaion. And then lastly, what you get here is just some information with regards to a chronicle game system, which is pretty cool. So you can actually play Mysthea The Fall after a game of Mysthea, or play it after a game of Icaion, or even after playing both games. So I think that's a really neat thing, and kind of a really cool way to set up almost like a trilogy game night, starting off with Mysthea, then playing Icaion, then using the results from those games and playing finally this cooperative game. Now on the back, you do get a quick reference guide as to the night phase only, not the different phases of the game. Now, what you're going to need are the reference cards here. So there are 5 reference cards. So let's explain what the day phase is. Now, each player will go through their own individual day phase, something that is not quite clearly explained in the rulebook. Then you'll go through a night phase. Then you will pass it to the following player. Now, this explains what the eradication bonuses are if you're able to clear an area. Don't worry, we'll talk a little bit about the gameplay when we get to the review. Now, just because of how busy the board is, and for those of you that want to see some pictures of Mysthea The Fall, you can take a look at our Instagram, which is down below in the video description. Because of just how busy it is, we're not going to be doing a how to play for the game. Doesn't look that great on our top-down camera. Now we've got just the champion cards that you need. Well, champions as well as seekers. We started out with the seekers. Now we're on to the champion cards, as well as the monster cards that you're going to need for the game. Now, if you are a returning backer, you also got this nice cool edition, which is foil edition of all the cards that you need to play Mysthea The Fall. And there you have it. We've taken a look at the components for this expansion for Mysthea and Icaion. Now keep it right here, as I'll be coming back at you with our review of the game. Now, Mysthea The Fall, what did I think of the game? Well, this is definitely something that was very new. I have yet to combine a bunch of different games together to make a larger game. Now, that is something that is done by the Century Trilogy. We currently only have Century Spice Road. We've got the other ones, but they haven't quite arrived yet. They are actually with a family member for the moment, and travel's difficult right now. So this was definitely something that I was eager to try. And it was also one of the main reasons why I actually decided to buy Icaion. For those of you that have seen our review of Mysthea, I have a card that pops up right now. You'll see that, well, I enjoyed the game, Julie didn't love it. And having something that turned both Mysthea and Icaion into a cooperative game was something that I just couldn't pass up. And ironically enough, Julie actually enjoyed Icaion a lot more than Mysthea, which really just made that Kickstarter purchase one that was a good one. So I'll have a card that pops up to take you over to our review on how to play of Icaion as well, in case you are interested. So what happens in Mysthea The Fall? Well, the islands descend down onto the board. On the island, you will have the golems from Mysthea that will be moving off those islands and slowly attacking the city. Now, the monsters from Mysthea will spawn as well, and they will also have some very damaging effects to the city. You will set the health of the city at 99. Now, as you're playing through the game, you're going to be moving around the board, acquiring Quam crystals by either activating machines of your color, taking collect actions, or potentially getting them by fighting the golems or monsters and gaining cleanup bonuses. Now, the reasons why you want to do that is that when certain events occur, they will trigger an attack on the city. Now, the city is going to take damage for certain things on the board, such as parasites, which will be come into play from the Colossus, as well as the different monsters. Now, those golems are also going to be trying to move towards the city interior. And when they do that, if you get 5 of them in the city, you will lose the game. So that's essentially what you're doing in the game, moving around, playing a tower defense style game while you're trying to investigate the Colossus. Now, it does get a little more difficult the more players that you add, because it is divided up into a day phase and a night phase. You will fully resolve a player's day phase where they may take 3 actions. Then you'll do a night phase where it'll essentially be the enemy turn. More enemies will come onto the board and potentially assault the city, or maybe even spawn new monsters or trigger an attack against the city. So what did I think of this whole experience and how the games are combined together? Well, I did find it very interesting because you're primarily using a lot of the components from Icaion, which makes sense as the islands have descended. But I also felt that the Mysthea components were definitely incorporated in a very cool way. It is a little busy and heavy on the minis for my taste. Now, I love miniatures games, but having essentially all of the equipment for Icaion on the board, as well as all of the minis from Mysthea, is definitely makes things a little difficult to see and manage. Now, when you're playing the game, it's fine, especially if there's more than one of you managing everything. We did make a few mistakes that first playthrough because there were some things in the rulebook that weren't quite clear. I'll talk about that in a moment. But suffice it to say, combining the games together works very well despite it being a little busy. Now, I do feel that each component of the game really feels like they are coming from the respective games. Everything from Icaion works like it would in Icaion, just adapted for this cooperative experience. In fact, most of the actions you're taking in the game are based on Icaion and have almost nothing to do from Mysthea. The islands work well enough. They've got their different aspects of bringing on the monsters, although it's a little disappointing that the golems that were once your followers and workers have now turned against you. It would have been a neat thing to see, maybe have some abilities with the Mysthea characters, being able to use them or maybe even gain strength from them. But one thing, so actually, I don't really have any more to say about it. I was going to start talking about just the gameplay itself, so I think it's time to just move on to that. So in terms of gameplay, I do find that it's solid. I mean, you're essentially playing a version of Icaion that has been adapted into a tower defense game. Your actions such as collect, combat, using the machines, investigating the Colossus, discharging sort of your relic or power crystal are very reminiscent more of Icaion than they are of Mysthea. But that being said, the Mysthea characters do bring their own flavor, their own sort of abilities to the game, and they fit right in. And since we enjoyed Icaion more than we liked Mysthea, I do like the fact that this cooperative experience is based more on the latter than the former. Now, it would have been neat to see some quests and maybe a little bit more combat for your individual character in terms of some of the stuff they're able to do. But I do feel that that aspect was at least brought in with the combat mechanics, where when you enter into combat against either the golems, the smaller foot soldiers, or the parasites, and the fact that you are going to be using the cards from Mysthea, and you do also get a cleanup and eradication bonus. You also get the menace that is well presented by the monsters from the game as something you really want to get off the board, because if you're playing a 4-player game, the city will take damage based on the strength of the monsters, and with some bad luck, you could go through a few rounds and have your city already down to half health and also coming under heavy assault. Now, the one thing that I didn't necessarily enjoy was the overall limit on the cooperative crystals. Now, it's essential because otherwise it'd be wouldn't probably be too easy. It would be way too easy to investigate the Colossus, as that's your primary focus of the game. On my plays of the game, that's really all I focused on. I did manage the board a bit, but playing with just 2 characters, on the easy setting, I did find it to not be overly challenging, despite the fact that the city did come under assault. It was never anything that I couldn't manage. The biggest challenge is the fact that all characters have to get at least 1 primal shard. Now, that definitely will be more challenging with 4 or 5 players, because it could take you up to 6 cooperative crystals in order to draw those primal shards. So it's something that will really depend on character count as well as difficulty. At lower difficulties, it takes less cooperative crystals to potentially draw those primal shards. Now, the actions that you're taking, since they're very reminiscent of Icaion, I don't really want to go into too much more detail about it. They work, they're fun, but the game is definitely simplified. And I think that's probably the biggest drawback to Mysthea The Fall, is that it doesn't necessarily feel like its own individual game. It's definitely a melding of 2 games to give you a new experience. That being said, I'm not sure how much it costs just to get the expansion pack. As was included with our Kickstarter, I definitely thought we got great value for it. It's something that if you've got Mysthea and Icaion, I would definitely highly recommend, especially if you have people that don't necessarily love those competitive games. It's a great way to introduce them to some of the elements of the games, most specifically Icaion. And I think after playing Mysthea The Fall, if they enjoy sort of mechanics of that, they could jump right into Icaion and almost not miss a beat. So now I'm going to move on. I'm going to give my rating of this expansion. I give it a 7. I think it's a solid expansion, something that is actually a must-have if you own both Mysthea and Icaion. If you have one or the other, I can't say that the gameplay experience really means you should pick up the other one in order to be able to bring them together. That being said, though, if you just have Mysthea, I would highly recommend Icaion, and at that point, you might as well get Mysthea The Fall. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the end of the video, where we're going to be reminding you to Take a look down below in the video description to find our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find pictures from Mysthea The Fall there. Also, don't forget to click that notification bell and hit the like button, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you enjoy our content. And the notification bell is important because it will make sure that YouTube lets you know when our next video is released. Also, popping up in front of me are going to be links to some of our previous videos. The one over here will take you back to our most recently released video, while the other one will take you back to a review on how to play of Icaion. I felt that was the most appropriate since Mysthea The Fall is largely based around those mechanics. And with that being said, I'm going to get out of here, but just as one last reminder, don't forget, keep playing games!